This might be the best Mini-ITX build if you are running on a budget. This build has a very clean look and is very sleek, making it portable. Despite its size, it is a very powerful system. This build used parts from Aliexpress, eBay, and Micro Center. However, this build can be done with parts from only Aliexpress. I mostly didn't want to cheap out on the graphics card and power supply, which is why I bought them from different retailers. I will list the parts I used and if there are any substitutes to make this build even more budget friendly. Keep in mind I did not test the substitute parts, so some of them may not be the best quality. First off is the Metalfish T60 Mini from AliExpress, which costs $89.25. This price does seem a little steep, but it does come with the required PCIe 4.0 GPU extension cable. The case itself costs around $52. It also is high quality, and $90 for a Mini-ITX case really isn't that bad. After completing the build in this case, I can say that it was decently simple and I didn't run into any issues when fitting parts. The case comes with all the screws you need for assembly, as well as zip ties for cable management. It even came with its own screwdriver, which you don't even see large companies doing. The case itself seems to be built out of metal and is very light. It was also nice to see these high quality screws for both the front and back panels. It has all the connectors any other normal PC case would have, including USB 3.0, HD audio, USB, and the power switch. However, in order to keep the power supply accessible from the back of the case, there's an extender. Unfortunately, the handle does not come pre-installed, so you have to poke holes through the top mesh to screw it in. Next up is the B5401 Plus on AliExpress from JGINYUE, which costs $64.38. I originally thought it came with built-in Wi-Fi, but I could not get it to work. This led me to taking off the metal cover for the Wi-Fi on the motherboard to see an empty Wi-Fi card slot. You don't need to worry about this if you are using Ethernet, but if you aren't, you'll need to install one yourself. If you are going to put one in, make sure you buy a Wi-Fi card that's meant for laptops. The installation is decently simple, just screw in the Wi-Fi card onto the metal plate, kinda like you would in NVMe, plug in the two antennas, and then seat the metal plate back into the slot, and screw it into the motherboard. It is also important to note the motherboard does not come with any antennas. If you take a look at my finished build, you could see the low profile ones I put in, and it fit the build perfectly. But overall, the motherboard seems high quality, and I could not notice any flaws. When accessing the BIOS, you will notice that it's in a different language, but I just use the camera feature on Google Translate. For the CPU, I went with the Ryzen 7 5700X, which runs for $123.21, but I did notice the price is constantly changing. As a substitute, you can always go with the Ryzen 5 5500, which is roughly $58 on Aliexpress. The RAM I went with is listed on screen. It is two 16GB sticks of DDR4 with speeds of 3200 MHz, which costs $41.46. You can substitute this with just 16GB of RAM, which will still be plenty and cost around $27. For the CPU cooler, I went with the Jonsbo HP 400S, which was $21.94. It does keep the CPU down to a safe temp, but it might be worth spending an extra $10 to cool it even better. I also noticed the bracket and installation for this fan was cheaply made. This gives an even better reason to buy a name brand one. For the power supply, I got the EVGA Supernova 850 watt from eBay, and it was $90 after shipping. Originally, I planned on putting a 4070 in this build, which is why I got the higher wattage. However, Micro Center was sold out. You can always get the power supply from Aliexpress, however they don't normally have a rating. This 500 watt power supply was $51.83. For storage, I went with the Inland 1TB from Micro Center. You can always go with the 500GB one for around half the price. I originally bought two of these Arctic 120mm case fans, but I could only fit one because the cords were taking up the room. In this video clip, I also noticed the fan was oriented the wrong way, so make sure to exhaust the fan upwards, otherwise you'll experience extreme overheating like I did. For the graphics card, I got the Zotac Gaming RTX 4060 Ti from Micro Center, but it really isn't that great for the price. When I purchased it, it was on sale for $420, but you could still get a used 3060 or 3060 Ti for around $200. As for benchmarking, the PC ran these two games very smoothly and I did not experience any overheating. This is despite there only being one case fan and a cheap CPU cooler. If you like this build and would like to see more in the future, make sure to like this video and subscribe.